and welcome to our weekly Technologies of the Future live webinar and Q&A. I am actually live from Necker Island today. It is 7 p.m. I'm going to put my laptop down there a little bit and kick us off this morning. It is International Inventors Innovation Month. Haley will correct me in the chat, I am sure. And it was also National Friendship Week last week. And so I'd love to talk about the convergence of friendship and innovation. And I've just randomly opened a book passage this morning, and I'm going to read that to you guys to kick us off for this conversation. And it's actually a chapter from The Game of Life and How to Play It. And I'm on chapter 8. It's called Intuitional Guidance. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. There is nothing too great of accomplishment for the man who knows the power of his word and who follows his intuitive leads. By the word, he starts in action, unseen forces, and can rebuild his body or remold his affairs. It is therefore the utmost importance to choose thy right words, and the student carefully selects the affirmation he wishes to catapult into the invisible. He knows that God is his supply, that there is supply for every demand, and that his spoken word releases this supply. Ask and you shall receive. Man must make the first move. Draw nigh to God, he will draw nigh to you. I have often been asked how to make a demonstration. I reply, speak the word and then do not do anything until you get a definite lead. Demand the lead, saying, Infinite Spirit, reveal to me the way. Let me know if there is anything for me to do. The answer will come through intuition. And so as I kick off this morning, thank you for enjoying the passage of my book. I would love to invite online our experts and faculty this morning to have a conversation about innovation and where we're at in the world and how we can actually fundamentally shift the way that the world works. So welcome, Christina. Welcome, Andrew. Welcome to my entertainment this morning, as I have had a few bottles of champagne. So what better time to discuss life and how it works and innovation and how we can actually shift the infrastructure of the world and the innovations that we're seeing.
Fantastic. I was trying to work out, based on your time zone, whether that's a sunrise or a sunset.
It is a sunset.
It is a sunset.
So I am
Brilliant.
in the great house here at Necker Island. It is white night, and so everyone's down on Turtle Beach, just downstairs. And that's why I thought the convergence of friendship and innovation. I've got some great stories about the innovations that have come out of this community and how proximity and how people and humans collaborating can make a huge difference in the world. So thank you for asking. It is sunset. This is the Caribbean, and it's probably about 30 degrees at the moment. So it's warm and lovely.
Brilliant.
Do you have a one-word opener for me?
Andrew?
Oh, inspired.
Mine is innovative. How's that for National Invention Week month?
Is it National Invention Month? Is it?
It's international. I think it's just invention. International Month of Inventors. Haley's probably put it in there. National Inventors Month. There we go.
We declare it National Inventors Month. That means it's in Australia. However, we're going to appreciate the international innovation that happens because we are an international species.
And we're actually very much an innovative nation, but there's never been a greater time for innovation either, as there has been over the last few years. It's amazing. You know, they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And that's certainly what's been happening with great speed over the last few years.
Allow me to take you for a tour as we have the conversation this morning. Can you hear the music?
No, not enough.
Very mildly.
Yeah. So this is the chess set here that is very famous for trying to beat Richard Branson. This is his home. So I'll sit down here with the chess set. I think that's probably a little bit better than what I where I was before. Andrew, your thoughts on innovation?
Innovation. We're as a species, we're naturally the most innovative. And Christina and I were just chatting. There's a fine line between innovation and discovery. But yeah, I think part of what's made us what we are as a species is our ability to innovate, adapt, and discover. And it's just accelerating such a phenomenal pace.
Here's a thought though, Andrew. So there's many studies done on how humans are the most adaptive, the most resilient, the most inventive, but they're starting to find out things now about other species. And, we've known about the adaptation from amphibian to land, but we're also recently learning about how polar bears, for example, are adapting to the melting ice caps and adapting to warmer weather. So I'm wondering whether it's because our focus has been on the history of humans, and I know there's people that have studied the adaptability and the morphing of the animal kingdom, but I'm wondering whether it's because we haven't done enough that we claim the title of the most innovative and the most inventive, and what that may show us in the long term, because as we often say, science is true until it's not, because some other science has come up and disproved it or added to what it is. So many questions, and I think that's the beauty of the innovator, the inventor, is that they're always curious and they're always asking questions, and they never settle. There's always that next step. I think that's what potentially that is the beauty of the human species in innovation. Lisa, you must be coming up with so many different things on NECA.
Yeah, and I think I'm writing my book at the moment that covers this topic quite significantly. And if I think about what the world needs, and so I love, and I mention all the time, Buckminster Fuller's book on an operating manual for Spaceship Earth. And it was the concept that the Earth is a spaceship and it's traveling through the universe, and we have everything on board that we need to get us through this journey. And one of the concepts that I think is just fundamentally wrong, to be completely blunt, is that the concept was that the human species are crew. And at the moment, I don't think the crew are human species. I think the crew are the trees and the ocean and the coral, and the operators of Spaceship Earth are really struggling at the moment. And as passengers, we're not treating them so great. So I think innovation is shifting fundamentally, and it will even more so in the next 5 to 10 years, to be able to be a lot more supportive of Spaceship Earth. And so that for me is the innovations that I'm really excited about. And being here at Necker Island, there's a lot of people that are raising capital. There's a lot of really significant people here with funds. There's a lot of funds that are managing over $1 billion in capital that can allocate quite a significant amount of capital to innovation. So it's cool to see what people are working on. It's really cool to see like what the vibe is. I'm going to say the vibe is around what people are investing in and what they actually really want to see. And I think there's a lot of humans at the moment that want to see change in the world, and that want to back people that are making change and businesses that are making change in the world.
And also that whole concept about impact investment. And I know you're embedded in that where you are right now. So it's that whole, what are we investing in that's going to have the greatest impact, that's going to help us solve the greatest challenges that we've perhaps never faced before, and that we really truly, as you say, with Spaceship Earth, need to face right now.
And I think if we talk about impact investment, I think over the last 20 years, it's very much shifted from philanthropy and investing and two completely different ends of the spectrum, where it was philanthropy and giving and actually investing and purely for profit. And then there's this sort of crazy bit in the middle that's impact investing. I think now impact investing is actually almost like investing in the shift in the planets, because there's people that want to do good. And even from a commercial point of view, people will stop buying products if you're doing the wrong thing by the environment. So investing in businesses that are doing good is actually the trend, which is really exciting. So, I'd love to shift the conversation to some of those innovations and some of the things that are happening in the world. And like, just to recognize, because it is National Inventors Month, which means National Inventors Month in Australia, Australians invented Wi-Fi and a number of really unique, really cool innovations that are used worldwide. So there's a number of technologies. And so, Andrew, Christina, what are you seeing with technologies that can help us recognize Inventors Month?
Go for it, Christina. If you've
I
got
was
something.
going to say I've spoken a fair bit already. I was going to leave it over to you. So I think technology is having a huge impact. And for me, it is all about the convergence of different technologies. And not only the convergence of technologies, but minds, fields, everything. So I think, you know, as we often say when we're discussing these things with corporates and businesses, Lisa, it's that convergence of all different technologies. It's the increase in the amount of sensors and the ability that gives us to collect data, to create different adaptations, to increase you know, the environmental impact. For example, we recently did some work with an organization that was trying to develop a new product and have developed a new product around what it is to use all those converging technologies. So whether it's sensors, robotics, etc. You know, and Lisa, I love the way you managed to rattle them off very, very smoothly. But it is so much so in the area of convergence. And I think that sensors are only going to increase. We've got an increased capacity for sensors. One day I will listen to those sensors on my car that beep when I'm about to back into something and save myself great angst and concern. But I think even like the Oura Ring, for example, you know, the increased number of sensors that now I can measure. I can get my oxygen level read every morning. The fact that the Oura Ring with all its sensors when the generation 3 came out allowed me to, or when I look back in hindsight, allowed me to recognize that I'd actually had COVID in January 2 days before I proved symptomatic, you know, because of that rise in body temperature. So I think all the sensors and the impact of technology is having a greater effect on wellness, on environment, on how we're going to build houses, structures, etc. in the future. So really excited about the positive impact that all this technology is already having on our lives. Andrew?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it's funny, just digressing a little bit. Having a chat to my mum, who was born in the mid to late 40s. She'll call me for saying this, but we're talking about how quickly her stuff has progressed, and she remembers getting their first washing machine. There was no washing machine before that, and the icebox and the radio and the TV and the microwave to now she's on the iPad streaming music and everything else. It's just so things that we've taken so for granted. Your washing machine, it has been such a game changer. So you know, these techs that now we take for granted can be such a shift, and it's almost difficult to imagine what's the next game changer. And sometimes it can be something as small as a washing machine. You know, TV changed an election when we were talking about Kennedy. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. But I think from my perspective, and converging with Friendship Week that just passed, a lot of the focus that we've been doing has been looking at engagement and trying to measure how we bring people together and adding a bit of science into the technology, assessing, predicting, and measuring how people come together. A lot of tech has been focused on the individual quality of life, but I think there's a lot of room for now improving a community and unity. And I'd love to see more of that investment, because you know, loneliness, isolation has become a huge problem that's been highlighted in the last couple of years.
I think that's so true, Andrew. And also just on that washing machine, you know, one of the newer inventions, or new invention compared to the washing machine, is those little devices that you put into the washing machine to collect nanoplastics now, because we know there's so many nanoplastics in all our clothes. So if you take that a little bit further and then you go, here is the convergence. So what happens when, you know, fabrics have got include all these nanoplastics, we need to stop them going out into the ocean. So, you know, even small inventions like that make such a difference.
Oh, for sure. I'm going to have to look at this one and get one.
Yeah, if I touch on both Christina and Andrew, what you've mentioned there. So Christina, you're talking about the computational capacity and the trend that we're going through now, and technology has never been as slow as it will be right now today. However, it's happening so fast. And so, the technologies that you were saying, it's nanotechnology, bionics, robotics, AI, network sensors, AR, VR, synthetic biology, and all of these things that are driven by computational capacity, which is doubling every year, every 2 years, and the price performance is halving. So Moore's law is kicking in, and we're seeing all of these things. And so when you look at technologies, like we know now that there are microplastics, and we know now that washing machines are robots. Like literally, we've had robots in our homes for a really long time. They're just not completely AI intelligent robots. And so the adoption of these technologies is so important. And so seeing the convergence of that, to have all these innovations. And I just wanted to touch on, I guess, and start, Andrew, if you had something to comment, then jump in before I shift.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, so I wanted to touch on the impact. And so I'm here on an island with 85 people who are doing really significant things in the world. And so, for example, it is the Necroverse, and we're talking about decentralized technology and how the infrastructure of decentralized technologies is going to completely change the world. And so this morning I ran a panel, which was, it's been really fun. Yesterday I spoke about soul-centric philanthropy. Today it was about creators and builders in a Web3 world. Tomorrow it's about Web3 technology for conservation. So I'm talking each day on these really incredible topics. And so today about builders and creators, there's people here who are building infrastructure that will support creators. So if you think about the music industry at the moment and how an artist will actually create a song, and then they actually have to pitch it to a record label, and they might get a fraction, or they'll get a record deal where they don't see very much income, and they make their income from touring, and the more marketing and promotion they do of their music, the better. However, in a Web3 world, they can actually mint an NFT. They can say, here's a new song I want to create. They can have 10,000 people own a song where they're all getting a little clip of the future royalties of that song. And so the artist gets paid up front, and then they all share equally in the profits, or proportionately in the profits going forward of that song, and so, or that album. So there's kind of an infrastructural shift that's happening in the world now that for builders absolutely can build the infrastructure. And so we're seeing different platforms, and we're seeing Web3 platforms pop up. And I love Hillridge, as an example, was the winner of the Extreme Tech Challenge last year, and they're doing parametric weather insurance for farmers. And so it's a platform that actually, instead of waiting, if a weather event happens or a hurricane, they have to wait a farmer would have to wait 3 months for an assessor to actually then get payment. The parameters are set in advance, where if it goes outside of that parameter, that an insurance event happens that day, and farmers get that paid that day. So for developing nations, that's hugely significant. So I think about these different technologies, but then I think about the opportunity for everyone in our community who are creating these technologies. And so there's one particular startup here, startup scale up, they're raising $100 million, and they're talking about the energy and the people that they want involved. And so that's not an open round. You'll never, as an investor, get access into that round until you come to somewhere like this and they say, hey, here's this really incredible idea that's going to change the world. Who's in? And there's super significant people that are saying, yes, I'll absolutely put funding and money into that, because I can see that you're going to change the world. And so if I shift us into the impact conversation, I love the saying that 500 years ago, only kings and queens could impact 1 billion people. And 100 years ago, it was the industrialists. And today it's you and me. And so I challenge, particularly because it's National Inventors Month in Australia, I challenge Australians to create these technologies and find the people that it can actually put in the capital and just elevate them into the stratosphere. So kind of in a cool place, but Christina, I'll throw to you for the impact that people can have, because I know we teach about how people can impact 1 billion people, and there is a formula.
There is
What do you
indeed. And it's not that difficult. So when, people often become overwhelmed with the idea of impacting 1 billion people, but just to add on to music, I played in a rock band, etc. When I grew up. I studied classical music. Music is a huge part of my cellular composition, if you like. And just the fact that there's also, Justin Bieber during COVID had a whole concert within the 3D metaverse. There's more and more opportunities like that also. So it's not just where the ownership of the NFTs come from, it's where the whole performance thing happens and the meetings, etc. If you expand that outwards, there's great impact happening where global people can connect very, very intimately, actually, within the 3D universe. But I that the whole impact of 1 billion people, we often tell the story of one of our great startups who's been in our proximity and has attended our boot camps. He came to me and he said, I figured it out. And I said, yep, what? Figured what out? He said, I know how we're going to impact 1 billion people. He said, in fact, at the moment it's 1.35 billion people, and they have a product. They put sensors in. They help people who are sight inflicted. These sensors are in universities and shopping centers and everything. He said, if I actually add up all the people that have a sight issue, and then I actually add to that the people that would necessarily need to be with them while they attended a university, he said, we're already up to 1.35 billion, and I haven't even extended beyond that. So they're also using this in the greater field of helping anyone with a disability, etc. So if you actually think about the people that you will impact and then the ripple effect that impact has, it's quite phenomenal. So even if you think you can't, you absolutely can. So go ahead and do it.
I'd actually like to add on to that one, because we were talking about the business with them and impacting 1 billion people, and absolutely for the lives and people who are living today. However, what about the people that go into their premises and the shopping centers in the future? And so I think there's something like, I can't remember the exact stats, but how many people have lived before us that are on the births and deaths record. And I don't know if it's 10 billion people have already been on the births and deaths register. And this is not, sapiens and humans that have lived for the last 250,000 years. But since we've been counting how many people are dead, 10 billion people. And so for the almost 8 billion people alive today, absolutely, there's some that are sight impaired, but what about the ones in the future? Because, apparently as you get older, your sight might go. So, I think that the difference that we can make today and the businesses that we create today, yeah, absolutely, we might have a commercial benefit now, but we're also impacting many generations in the future to come, because we have that opportunity to create the infrastructure in today's time.
Such a good point. We were having a chat with, I think it was the Disability Council a few years ago, and I was really surprised to learn that dexterity is one of the biggest debilitating conditions in people. And something as simple as a keyboard that allows someone that might have digital impairment or a mouse to be able to use and communicate with tech is a life changer. They don't have to be grand Tesla or Marie Curie type inventions. They can be something like, as you say, that it just makes a person's life better.
And Andrew, on that, I was reading just last night as I was putting the newsletter together. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do. About the brain interfaces. Somebody's actually developed an interface, so we won't even need to use hands or mice or anything. There's plenty of people at the moment, or plenty of organisations working on that mind control, and we've seen one of our great engineers in Australia, Dr. Jordan Nguyen, working on this already. But the brain interfaces, and instead of actually having to cut open the brain, they're doing it via jugular insertion, which sounds kind of worse in the way the words come out. But to not have to actually enter someone's brain to put one of these receptors in there. So there's a whole, and I've actually had one of those mind control banners on and controlled these little robots just using my thoughts and having them spin around or walk. It's quite remarkable. My children did get quite scared when I came back and told them though.
I can imagine.
I do have to jump in because we're almost at time and ask you both for some final thoughts. And so the question is that it's 20 years into the future, you've just woken up. What does the convergence of innovation, inventors, and friendship look like? And Christina, I'll throw to you first.
It looks very much like where you are, Lisa. So we are gathered in tribes and we ideate and we come up with solutions to solving those great challenges. And almost instantly in 20 years' time, we can converge the different technologies that help solve those solutions. We are living much slower lives in one regard, but we are, because we're living much slower lives because of those convergences, we are actually able to focus on the remaining challenges in order for the world to live in a utopic, harmonic state. Andrew.
I love it. I like your world. For me, it's for me, it's a world where innovation and invention is within anyone's reach, regardless of where you are or the resources you have available, because we're so well connected. And there's no longer the question of ethics versus profit, because that's taken for granted that capital has to flow to things that are good.
Beautiful.
If we merge both of ours together, how utopic would that be?
That's the friendship of the convergence. How's that?
Exactly.
Lisa?
Yeah, I'll absolutely add on to that in 20 years, we've all found our tribes and we have that sense of belonging because we all do belong. We live in love and bliss, and the innovation just flows because we naturally just want to solve the challenges that are around us that are scalable, because typically if you've got a challenge where you are, then it's probably a challenge in other places as well. So we have a whole heap of opportunity. We get to work together with our friends, with our tribe, and it's not just human capital, it's financial capital and it's community capital that brings us all together and makes the world better. And we all live happily ever after, because I seem to be saying that after every time I create a vision of the future now. And I think it's really important that we do know that there is a tribe out there. And so if you guys all haven't found your tribe yet, please join ours, because we do want to make a difference. We do love and care so much for you all to invent awesome things and to have that sense of friendship and community along the way. So with that, I will say thank you so much, Christina, always for joining us. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Hayley. Thank you for everyone here that's live online, in Zoom, on social media, on LinkedIn, in our online learning community. You're all very valued, and I wish you all a very inventive day to celebrate friendship and innovation. See you all soon.
Good.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Evening.